Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to Tim Rowe's 6-String Techniques. Hello and welcome again to Tim Rowe's 6-String Techniques. Hope you're doing well today. I've got my coffee, I hope you've got yours. Let's learn the circle of fourths today. Now we've already covered the circle of fifths, so this should be fairly easy to understand. And if you go to the lesson and watch me do the circle of fifths and explain how scales work, how they're constructed, and view that lesson, this one will be very easy for you. This is the opposite side of the pie. Let me set this down. Again, and I did cover in the circle of fifths the actual pie, I believe. You'll see that. It's very confusing to understand that when a musician, an aspiring artist or musician looks at this circle of fifths and circle of fourths, it looks pretty complicated. So I like to break it down where we can actually really see things. And what I've done here for you today, of course, the circle of fourths, instead of showing how many sharps are in each major scale, this shows us our flats. The flat symbol being kind of an oblong looking lowercase b, if you will. That's just a great way to describe it. Just like the sharp may be a tic-tac-toe sign or pound sign, you see the sharps that way. So the circle of fourths is going to show you how many flats are in each scale. And when we launch our F scale, which was not in the circle of fifths, that was the one scale that was missing. If you'll remember in the circle of fifths, we had a C scale, a G scale, a D, an A, E, B, and an F sharp scale. F was not there. F is the first scale in the circle of fourths. That's where that one went. This is really easy. What we do with the circle of fourths is box our 4 in the scale and make that the new flat every time. So what we're doing here is we've got our root note to our octave note. We've got Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes per scale. We start with an F. We roll across F to F, F, G, A. Let's go ahead and flat that 4, B flat, C, D, E, F. Again, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. That gives us our F major scale. You can certainly physically play this scale. We're going to cover that more as we go on when we get into the chapter on mechanics of physically playing the scale. But this, again, is the psychological part of the scale and its construction, if you will. Once we establish the F scale, we have our insurance policy by boxing that 4th note and making that automatically flat. This sets our formula, which is whole step, half. Let me use a different color on this, you guys. I think it'll be much better if we use a different color on these whole step, half step deals. So let's just go ahead and use our blue. Okay, I'm setting a whole step in between F and G. That works. Let's set a whole step between G and A. That's beautiful. We want a half step between A and B flat. Now by lowering that B flat, and again, the way that we create a flat is to lower the note 1/2 step. Of course, the sharp, we raise the note a half step, okay? Half of a step, we know on your instrument, you've seen that with me in the lessons before, is just right next door to whatever fret you're on. You lower that note, B flat, it makes A to B flat 1/2 of a step. Now, separates B flat and C, which used to be a half, makes it a whole. We're sticking to our formula. Whole step, half step. We've got to keep that formula, you guys. We want to make sure that that's whole step, half step. 3 whole steps. Whole step, half step. Also, people say tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Tone being a whole step, semitone being the half. You can use T's and S's if you want. We're using W's and fraction half to indicate our wholes and half steps. We're going to apply this formula to every one of these scales. But to make it even easier than that, let's make it easier than that. Always flat the 4 and drop it down to the next scale, which will create and develop our next scale. Out of the F, we're going to have the B flat scale. Let's say that. B flat, C, D, go ahead and automatically flat the 4, E flat, F, G, A. We started with B flat, we must end with B flat. Now we have our B flat major scale. That says B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Pull the 4 down, E flat scale, our next. E flat, F, G, automatically flat the 4, A flat, keep the flat that was in the scale above. You always want to make sure that on the very next scale, each time, you keep the flat that was in the scale above and add the new flat, which is going to be our 4 every time. Again, E flat, F, G flat, new flat is A flat, our B flat, C, D, started with E flat, end with E flat. The number of flats per scale, like on the circle of fifths, in the circle of fourths, will add 1 new flat every time. So as you go down, each scale will contain more flats. And the tone that is going to create will be the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We want every one of these scales to sound like that from its respective starting root note. And that's where the theory comes in. This is going to affect us when we go to build chords. It's going to have something hugely to do with what chords work well together to create songs. 1, 4, 5 chord progressions being one of those, and so forth. So continuing, A flat scale. Now we'll actually write it together. Okay, I have an A flat that I pulled down to create my next scale. We got to keep the B flat, right? So B flat, sorry, doesn't look great. C, let's go ahead and flat this forward. D flat, we got to keep the E flat, y'all. We got to keep that E flat. F, G, and finally end with A flat. Okay, I'm going to have room for about one more, but let's make that flat look a little prettier. Let's have a nice looking flat here. Nice, okay, it's better. A flat, B flat, that was up there in the scale above. C, D flat is our new flat. Let's get an insurance policy and box that thing so we are sure that that's our 4th note. That's why I box those things, remember. A D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, okay? That gives us our A flat major scale. Let me set this eraser over here. And we're going to do one more. Hey, you notice something cool. Once we establish that F in the circle of fourths, and that's what starts our circle of fourths, you're going to notice the word bead being spelled. Bead as in like jewelry, B-E-A-D, a bead. So we're going to start now with D flat and go on. So D flat, E flat, F, G flat, let's box it, A flat, that was in the scale above, B flat, that was in the scale above, C, and we started with a D flat, always end with what you start with, we have to end with a D flat. Very good. So now we've established the circle of fourths. You would continue by going G flat, C flat, and we'd go back to F. And that would give us our F flat, by the way. So, no need to go any further right this moment. This is just how the circle of fourths is done. And you'll get a great understanding as we go. We will come back in another lesson and show you guys how to create chords from this and progressions. Let me just take a second to tell you how this will affect you in the future. For instance, just in case you're curious, when I go to play an F major chord and I am curious as to what notes make up my chord, the construction, if you'll remember, and I believe we've done a lesson on chord construction. If not, that's coming very soon. I'll go ahead and give us a little advance notice on that if not. We've got 3 tones, the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. Let me say that again. The 1st note of the scale, the 3rd note of the scale, and the 5th note of the scale are the tritone, or the 3 notes, the 3 tones that make up the chord itself. So when you hold and play an F major chord, you are playing an F note, an A note, and a C note. We're going to get into depth on that again more as we go. A B flat chord would contain the 1, B flat, the 3, D, and the 5, F. So when you hold a B flat major chord, those 3 notes have to be played. The cool thing is on guitar, you can just learn a major shape and move those all over the fretboard and not really have to worry about what notes are in the chord. How does this affect us in the future? Well, it teaches us harmony. It shows us what kind of chord we have and what notes are in that chord, so we can develop and make different chords up the fretboard that are the same chord, and we'll get into that more. Like an E flat chord would have E flat, the third is G, 5 is B flat. That's helpful to know. So with this knowledge, you will know what notes are in your chords, and that will help you understand the chord itself. As far as putting chords together, our progressions culturally, in this, well, it's worldwide, but definitely here in America, the western side of the world, even Europe, where we stem from, the 1-4-5 chord progression is very common in our music. That would entail gospel, blues, rock and roll, and all divisions of. It's very common to play a 1-4-5 chord progression. I believe the Beatles wrote "Hey Jude" in F as a 1-4-5. That is F chord, B flat chord, and C chord make that song. When you are learning a song and you establish the key that it's in, for instance, the key of F, well, by knowing that 1-4-5 is common, it's a common chord progression, you can pretty much assume or guarantee maybe that the 1-4-5 is going to be a progression, so that song will contain an F major, a B flat possibly, and a C. This helps you figure out the song in a much more time-effective manner. It makes you aware of the construction of a song. So knowing the circle of fifths and the circle of fourths is an awesome thing. It's a wonderful thing, and it's very helpful to the musician for future references and just basic knowledge of how a song is constructed, or a chord is constructed, or what harmony note to sing with a note. So these charts are going to kind of be, like I said before, the multiplication table, if you will, for our math in music. And music is math. It's simple math, and it's good math. So we're gonna need to know this stuff for the future. And I'm just really glad that you guys came to check this one out. My recommendation is to view the lesson on the circle of fifths first, and then check out the circle of fourths. Thank you, and have a great day.